So we're going to do a sort of a turn of direction in technique and in concept as well. So we're still going to be staying with Photoshop though. So if you have any questions about, you know, Photoshop and any of the techniques that we've covered in the last several videos, feel free to ask your TAs. You can also ask me, and then yeah, we can just help you out. Also, I guess I'll throw out there, if you make a couple of variations of each assignment, it's certainly not required, but it can be an amazing way to kind of increase your chances of success. So if you have multiple versions with maybe just variations, they don't have to be completely separate. But variations in where things are placed, variations in color, variations in form, variations in, you know, really any aspect of the composition, those can be great ways to engage in creative decision making with the TAs or with me. So if you have a sort of decision to make and you want to maximize, you know, your chance of, you know, like having the greatest piece ever, you can feel free to email me or the TAs. Probably the TAs and then me, but yeah, enjoy. So okay, we are going to get on task here, and so we're down here in week 4. Can you believe it? And we're all, I think, all still healthy and wonderful. So we here's a by the way, this is if you're looking at this is my page, so this is a lecture that I'm not doing for you all, because I want to kind of emphasize the Photoshop stuff and make sure that we cover everything that we need to. So one of the things that we do for this altered image assignment, which is what I'm going to be kind of focusing on that. And by the way, at the time that I'm recording this video, I haven't pushed the deadlines up yet, but I will be doing that later today. So have no fear. All the deadlines are getting pushed forward 1 week. And you can consider that my COVID gift to you. So we have this page over here. So the altered image assignment, I'm not going to kind of go over the assignment because you can do that at your leisure, but it does ask you to use a image as the foundation of it that has historical value. And so I think that could be like, it's so broad, you know, it could be an image of a historical painting. It could be an image of historical happenings, you know, or events, and it could be portraits of historically important people. So I'm going to go ahead and publish the lecture on image culture and postmodernism, because there are several examples in there of famous artists who do work that involves history and who work from, you know, historical sources in their work. And so I want you to be able to see it so that you can use it as inspiration for the project. Also, I would say for inspiration, you can look at these awesome examples that previous students have, you know, decided how they've decided how to work with the theme. So now that that is said, we can certainly click in here to the historical image art databases, and there's a ton of them. If any of these links need to be updated, just let me know. And you'll find that some of these databases are certainly better than others. You may also, and I guess I should probably add this one. Let me write that down. We just got notified from our campus, we have an art library, and our campus art librarian just added a new image database. So So if you're already kind of like in that pipeline of information, the database is called JSTOR. They apparently added a lot of new stuff. And high resolution stuff. So in any case, I'll post that probably by the time you watch this video. So in any case, these are most of them are high res selections. This one, the shortby.com has a watermark, and so students ask me a lot, what should I do with the watermark? And I would say that's a challenge to you to either crop the image, put something there to cover it up, or basically just kind of get rid of it. So those can be a little bit problematic because of that. The Library of Congress has just an incredible archive. The New York Public Library is another really, really good one. And anyway, the list literally goes on. So we're going to start with the Commons, which is kind of like the most obvious one. And we have this Commons, which is just it's a collection of different libraries' image sources, and you can find a lot of stuff there. I have a very specific thing in mind, which is okay. We all have the right to, be inspired. So my inspiration today is coming from the sort of recent departure of our Supreme Court Justice, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And so I wanted to do a portrait for you all of a Supreme Court Justice. So that's what we're doing. So I'm going to just type in here Ruth Ginsburg, and this will give you a really good idea of how to use this system. Of course, I spelled it wrong, so that is not helpful. Da-da. Okay, so it looks like there are some users kind of suggested, oh, cats, of course, cats. Wow, such a meme. So anyway, I'm just scrolling down to make sure that there aren't any pictures of her that I really need to put on there. So this is a painting of Sandra Day O'Connor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Kind of fascinating. So a lot of these would be really great choices. I think that I think this one is what I want, if I can find it in... The question is, now then when you find the photo that you want, the question is it high resolution enough? Because back here in the assignment, let's see, nope, over here. Assignment. Okay, so if we go to the assignment, yeah, so it's 8.5 by 11 at 300 ppi, which is the same pixel size as our last assignment. So that should hopefully kind of like keep you, kind of like in the mode. So that's not, I mean, it's big. It's definitely bigger than your average internet image, but it's not of a scale that you won't be able to find it. So here's some random image on Flickr, and one of the best ways to kind of just see how big it is to look at it magnified, and this is not inspiring. This one is not inspiring my confidence because I basically can't zoom in on it. Also here, when I click the download button, I'm able to view all sizes. And you can see, move myself down here a little bit, that the largest that they have is 1024 by 848. So that's just like too small. It's like half as small as it needs to be. And I'm sure that this Supreme Court Justice wouldn't mind me sticking to my standards. So I'm going to try one of these variations of a similar photo. And you may have to kind of hunt around to find an image that's large enough. And I know that's a drag, but, you know, welcome to digital art making. It's kind of how it is. Okay, so here, oh wow, we're in business now. So this image has tons and tons of size variations. And so probably what I would recommend you do, you know, in general, like, if I could start a meme, it would be like, always get more pixels. You want the most pixels you can possibly get. So go ahead and click this one on here. And I'm going to jump into Photoshop now and we'll get started working on this thing. Create new. So I'm going to create an image that's 8.5 by 11 at 300 dpi. Transparent. I like a transparent background. That's just my way. Create. So let's see. Now I'm going to go ahead and find my Ruth Bader Ginsburg image. Now, by the way, I can see right away that something is kind of wrong. So what is that? Well, it's that the image was in portrait format, and the canvas size that I seem to have selected is in obviously landscape format. So let's just change that before we get the image in here. So this is a question that I commonly get from students anyway, so this is good. So down here, if you go to image size, it allows you to resample the pixels as we kind of observed before, right? So it allows you to actually rescale the file. If you want to rescale the canvas of the image, which is basically the cropping kind of surrounding the image, you can go to canvas size. And so in here, it's specified in pixels. So I think it would be nice if that were in inches, just for ease of numerical entry. So here I would want 11, and here I would want 8.5. This is a common warning that you can just ignore. And boom, there we are. So let's go ahead and get into my downloads folder where that image went. And I'm just going to drag it into Photoshop. Hello, Ruth. Okay, so it looks like we have a little bit of cropping to do. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of zoom out on the window. Now, we don't really want to excuse me, we don't really want to crop off these sides because then our image wouldn't be 8.5 by 11 anymore. What we really probably want to do is make the operating image slightly larger and crop a little bit off the top and the bottom. I'm going to push it down just a little bit because of what I am inspired to do. Okay. Awesome. So, this image now, at this point, we're kind of like lucky with this image. Why are we lucky? Well, we're lucky because it looks like it's an actual digital photograph from a digital camera. So it doesn't have a lot of the problems that a normal historical photograph would have. I'm going to do an optional video on restoring historical photographs. So if you are interested in working with a real, a real historical photograph that was taken more than 15 years ago, you will get lots of great tips on that in my optional video. And I'll just put it right underneath this one. Okay? So what I think would be really awesome with this image is, as I said, I mean, it's like an amazingly high resolution, high fidelity image. I mean, look at those pores, you know? Um, it's got a lot of great detail, and it's also got, you know, it's just really like got a great background. It's like perfect. So we should be able to really have a great experience in Photoshop with this. I feel like the optional video on working with a historical photograph is sort of like probably a great video for you all to watch if you don't have an amazing, beautiful image to start with, which, you know, they're hard to find. So I wouldn't blame you if you didn't, and that's what the video is for. So what I think I want to do in this case is I think I would like to take this collar, and I think that I want to take the collar and flip it upside down and make it a crown, and then surround her with like a rainbow sort of like halo. Why? Because I love rainbows. No reason. So it's a great concept. What we need to do at first is, so when we imported this is kind of a typical Photoshop thing that happens. When we imported this layer, because we imported it through dragging and because of whatever format that it was, we imported the file straight through dragging in. It brought it in as what's called a smart layer or a smart object. So we could keep it as a smart object and that would be fine. I'm just kind of grumpy about smart objects, but if we wanted to make it not a smart object and just get into the realm of like normal Photoshop, we could certainly do that. What we would want to do is to actually rasterize the layer. So let's see. So if you right click it, you can click rasterize layer. And don't get me wrong, I think smart objects are fine and I use them a lot, but I just think when you're very first learning how to use Photoshop, it's going to make things way unnecessarily complicated. So anytime you have a layer, by the way, like that has a special mode or like type in it or shapes, you can always right click it and say rasterize, and that's going to kind of turn it into like a standard Photoshop layer that just contains pixel information. So it's good to kind of like, you know, just get that out of the way. All right, so if I want to select this collar, what would I do? Well, I think this is definitely a case for the magic wand tool. We'll be trying a couple of other selection tools here in this video. But that just, wow, that worked so well. Why did it work so well? Well, it worked so well because there's a ton of contrast. Sorry. There's a ton of contrast between the collar and the rest of the stuff, the black robes. So in this case, I think I'm just gonna like edit this just a super tiny bit. So I'm gonna go into Quick Mask because that's kind of the best image mode for me to kind of edit in. It does look like there's a couple of fails in here, and Quick Mask is really good for that. It'll kind of make them visible where you can't necessarily see them with the magic wand tool and the selection edges. I need a smaller brush, so I'm going to dial down the brush size. And an eraser, that would be helpful. This is what always happens in Quick Mask. I always like go for too much and then I have to kind of like come back in with my paintbrush and like throttle it back. Because you definitely want to not include anything kind of over the edge in Photoshop. So here, I think I might go back into not Quick Mask or regular editing mode, and I think I'm going to try a Select Grow. Haha. So that's a good way to kind of fill in areas if you know that you have like a really nice solid contrast, and you want to just like make the selection a little bit more aggressive. It's a super way to do that. So before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this layer. And the main reason for that is for no other reason than I like to have the original layer kind of preserved, so that I don't have a layer, every single layer has some kind of like operation on it. I like to keep one layer at the bottom that just has the original image, because if I ever need to go back to it, it's just a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and select the new layer and now make a layer mask. So in this case, I'm going to reveal the selection, and that's done. And just to kind of verify that that did a thing. Oh, hey, check it out. So this is pretty typical. We wound up with some white sort of stragglers, I would call them, maybe, that got accidentally selected and I didn't even see them. They're from the reflection of her glasses and the reflection from her ring. So that's really easy to take care of with a layer mask. All we need to do is grab an eraser. We can use quite a large brush in this case because, oops, paintbrush, get that mixed up every time. So yeah, you just need a big brush or eraser, as the layer mask maybe demands. And I'm just going to move this around a couple more times just to make sure that there aren't any like extra presents waiting for me. So I don't want it to be that kind of a crown. I want it to be that kind of a crown. So we're going to have to like rotate it and do all sorts of stuff to it. Now, probably if I were being really smart and kind of staying on top of things here, I think that we should probably duplicate this layer as well. And the reason for that is that I'm going to do some pretty crazy stuff to this collar thing. And this layer mask took more than a couple seconds to make. So I think we probably want it to stay, stay around for a while, just in case we need it again. So now I'm kind of just, again, making sure that there aren't any like weird little surprises. And I'm going to have to, first of all, I'm going to have to flip this upside down. So if I go to bring the transform controls on, you can see that the transform controls are like really big. And that's because I still have the full image kind of riding along with this collar. And in this case, I actually don't think that that's necessary. So I think probably what we could do is to rasterize this layer. Hello. Okay, so what you see here is we have a bounding box that's fairly large. I'll just flip that on again. And, we could maybe think about rasterizing this layer, although that's not really the correct way to go about it. What we would do instead is we would take the layer mask and we would actually apply the layer mask. And what that's going to do is it's going to kind of make it so that it's just this color and it's not, doesn't have the whole rest of the layer with it. And in this individual case, I think it's actually a good idea to do that because otherwise we're just going to build up copies of this layer and it's not, it's kind of a waste of pixels. So now you can see our bounding box is kind of, you know, the right size, and this is just a regular layer. It's got the collar and then it's got transparent stuff all over it, all around it. So if I go to take this layer and transform it, I think this is a flip vertical. Yeah. Then we can kind of come in here a little bit. And man, I mean, it's a cool idea, but it looks kind of crazy right now. And why does it look so crazy? Well, because this is like clearly like the wrong shape. Yeah, well, this is Photoshop, so we're gonna make it work. So if we take this, we can go to Edit, Transform, Distort. And I'm basically going to kind of just play around with this thing until I get all the components to sort of look right. I don't want to make it too crazy because I want it to still look a little bit like the original thing. Let's see. So I think that'll work for what we want to do. And now you may be thinking to yourself, oh, it's not exactly on the contour of her head. And to that I say, yeah, that sounds kind of hard. That's not really what I'm shooting for. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bring her head forward to kind of make it appear as if it's on her head. Of course, in Photoshop, it's all about appearance. So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull her out of the background with the quick selection tool in this case. And the quick selection tool, it's got its sort of it's got its issues, but it works reasonably well. You of course need to select a layer, which I thought I already did. And basically you just want to kind of like work against the edges. It works a heck of a lot better when you have the right layer selected. So that was kind of a fail right here, but you can come in with the sort of minus mode and just eat it back off. So now we want to move back into plus. And you know, it's not right. It's not always pretty. And it doesn't always kind of get it. But you do have that ability to kind of come back in and work it off again. So it's really not that bad. Oops, I should be in plus mode right now. So you can see it's working really, really well on these edges because they are really well defined, which is impressive given the fact that she's in black. So, you know, whether you start becoming kind of a fan of the quick mask tool or not, that's just kind of, you know, your own deal. Some people really like it, and some people can't stand it. it's definitely got its own kind of technique, you know, as opposed to the other tools. So I'm not gonna like labor too much on this. I just want to kind of make sure that I get all of this stuff. And so in these kind of middle areas, it's just going to automatically select, you know, select her. I guess I can throw the chair in too, just out of kind of laziness. And, you know, I kind of think it's okay for it to be in the foreground. It would be weird if it weren't. Okay, so now we've got her kind of selected out, and that was pretty easy, comparatively. So I'm going to go ahead and at this point, I'm going to do something really you know, crazy that we've never done before. I'm going to make a layer mask. We've done that quite a lot. But the reason we've done it so much is because layer masks really, you know, are pretty powerful. And so I'm going to make another copy before I make the layer mask, just as kind of a matter of practice. I really should have titled this layer Ruth rather than whatever ungodly auto-generated name it has. And so now that I'm ready to make the layer mask on my new layer, in this case I want to reveal the selection. Okay, so I'm gonna pick up the layers, make the layers palette just a little bit bigger. Excuse me while I move myself. Okay, so now the layers palette is big enough for us to deal with. And I'm going to put this on the top. And so now that thing should be positioned behind her head as opposed to on top of it. So that's just a really simple trick. If we wanted to make it look a little bit more on her head, another thing that we could do to kind of buck up that illusion would be to maybe take a brush and add some shadows to it. So you're like, add shadows, what? So if we take black and put black as our foreground color, we can actually kind of interactively paint shadows in Photoshop. So I'm going to go to the layer that we would actually be doing that on. And you can see, oh wow, that's a fantastic shadow. As you can see, it's way too bright. We're going to make it a little bit less crazy. So usually I would use a multiply mode here, and I would give it an opacity of like, I don't know, 20%. Let's start there. Seems like a good place to start. And in addition to that, now we've got that, which is getting there. But we also need to make the brush a lot less hard in order to make it a kind of convincing shadow. So like that. And in this case, I think I actually want a much larger brush. So I mean much larger. And that's because I want to get the shadows to look like kind of gradual. Maybe that's too much. Now, because we don't have a layer mask on this layer, we're actually getting the shadows kind of all over the place. So that's a little bit unfortunate. You also can't really like edit a layer mask once it's already been edited. So I'm gonna go, I mean, you can't like bring a layer mask back. It's gone. That's that's why a lot of people keep their layer masks around. So I'm gonna just go back in the history palette a little bit from where we started the shadows. And so one way of kind of limiting them to just this sort of crown object would be to take the magic wand tool and reselect, reselect our sort of crown thing. And then in this case, I would say probably grow. And I'm going to hit grow a couple times. And the reason I'm doing that is to make sure that it's on the outside of this selection. And now we could actually apply this as a layer mask if we wanted to. So we could reveal this selection. And so that doesn't really change things, for us much, but what it does allow us to do is that now when we come in here with this, you know, shadowy maker, we can have it not affect the back of the wall, which is kind of cool. And I think that's actually, you know, pretty decent. What I want to do now is like get crazy with color. And so I think we can just stack pretty much all of that on top of this stuff. And then I want Ruth Ginsburg to be on the top of everything. So let's go ahead and make a new layer. And I'm going to start kind of just painting with color. And so what I can do is I can just grab a paintbrush. I already have a crazy gigantic paintbrush. So that's fun. I do kind of want to play with like maybe some of like alternative brushes. So, you know, you can look inside your brush inventory and you may see that you have some crazy brushes. So yeah, I think, one of these like pastel mode brushes I think would be fun. 60 pixels, ha ha ha. So this seems like a pretty decent size. And let's see, if I hit the shift key, it'll make a line straight between where I clicked and here. Okay, that's very, very black. So let's go ahead and, as I said, I wanted to make a rainbow, so I'm going to just be working through the spectrum of fully saturated colors. So Control Z out of that. There are like probably a million different ways you could, sorry, click the wrong thing. Or probably, sorry. Okay, not quite there. There are probably, as I said before, probably a million different ways that you could do this. I'm going to make my brush just a little bit larger. Yeah. So I want to change colors real quickly. And basically I'm just going to click through these fully saturated colors and kind of paint them out, you know, in a sort of ray pattern around Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then check in with y'all in a quick second, okay? Hi. So, okay, so I have my crazy color background and it definitely is like super bright. And you know, that's kind of what I want because I'm going for a sort of like, you know, internet aesthetic here. But I think I would definitely like the crown to be kind of on top of it. So we can kind of clearly see it. And I would also like the background itself to kind of be somehow blended in with the photograph. So I'm going to rely on layer blending modes for that. And in this case, I think we can look at some of the modes that we had last time. I want one that's going to definitely preserve the look of the crown. So that looks good. And when I say it looks good, it's a little much, but I'm going to try to knock it back with the opacity a little bit. And that kind of gets me a little bit closer to where I want to go. Like just a touch down from that. So I think this is pretty much like, very much getting there. One other thing that I'd really like to do to the whole thing is I'd like to kind of consider maybe, because this has such a stepped look, it's kind of like harsh transitions between color. I'd like to consider maybe posterizing it, the whole image. And so I'm pretty sure we're going to have to go ahead and do that to the entire image. Yeah, right. So let's get like a preview of what that might, whoa, hey. Let's get a preview of what that might look like if we do it to the top layer, because we don't really need to do the background in this case. It's definitely posterized. So I think I want to do it to this layer right here. And so you can just see I kind of went through and made them some invisible and some not, just to kind of like look at what happens. So if I go to image adjustments and then I go to posterize, so this is with 4 levels, and that's pretty harsh. I just want to kind of maybe look at it with like 8 or 9. 10 is good. That looks good. So she's a little bit more cartoony now, but she's definitely kind of still, it's like a respectful portrait still. So, okay, let me bring back the crown and that. And I think we're ready to go. We have an internet image waiting to happen here. So I'm going to go ahead and save this one, save it as. Of course, it's in layers right now, which is totally fine. We could save it as a Photoshop document for sure. We could also potentially, for turning it in, you're going to need to save it as a JPEG. So I want to make sure that I do save it as a Photoshop document first, and I just kind of did this in one whack here, so I'm going to make sure I do that. And then in here, let's see, I would go to Save As, JPEG, Ruth.jpg. All right, so that is that for this session. I'll be doing another short session about restoring historical photos. And so I hope to see you back for that. I may not get that session up on Monday. It may be slightly delayed. Then again, it might not. So if you're still, have a great week ahead. And I'll see you all really soon. Or not. Sorry, y'all. It's hard to get used to. Talk to you soon.